Lamar Jackson, the reigning NFL MVP, is, according to Diana Rossini, is 205 pounds right now, 25-pound drop-off from where he was last year. Why?
I don't know. Why does Lamar Jackson have to get faster? Like, you have plenty of speed, man. Just stay on the field. Stay healthy.
Well, because even at 230 last year, the thing is, like, even I remember when scouting Lamar at Louisville, it's like, yeah, he's fast, but he's not the fastest player in the NFL. You know, the value comes from him being able to make people miss and then accelerating off of that. And even at 230, it's not like that was an issue for him last season. You know, maybe he's not putting up like the same rushing stats he was like during the 2019 MVP season, but he's still absolutely one of the most fearful players with the ball in his hand once he gets moving downfield. So to get down to 205, I was just like, dude, that's way too small.
I wonder what that means. Like, I wonder what it means for the offense. I think there is some signal there that, like, they drafted Devin Leary at the end of the third round, which has gone against like how they've acquired their backups for Lamar. It's always been like, oh, we want someone like Lamar. And then bringing in Leary is like, we want someone the opposite of Lamar, because Leary is nothing like that. So I do wonder if this is like a signal that maybe we're not going to lean on the quarterback run game as much going forward, which I would like, as a Lamar fan, I would be happy to see that, because I think he's a quarterback talented enough to kind of, you know, still be a top quarterback without that part of his game, like being a heavy part of his game. So maybe that's what this is about, and they don't want him taking the punishment because he's just not going to be in harm's way. If that's the case, then I'm all for it. But if they're going to continue to call plays the same way, I'd rather have Lamar with some armor on his body.
Right. And also, I think it's good for him to stay up at like the 230 area, because dude, this offensive line is going through a little bit of a transition this year. You know, Morgan Moses is off with the Jets. You got most likely a rookie starting at right tackle in Rosengarten, who they drafted from Washington. You lost John Simpson to the Jets, so there's going to be some, you know, movement on the interior. And also, Ronnie Stanley still kind of a TBD in terms of like if he ever gets back to the pre-knee tears and Achilles tears version of himself, because Ronnie's interesting. Like, he'll have spurts, maybe for like 5 plays a game in a row where he's like, oh, there he is. There's the old Ronnie, but it's still hard for him to put it all together. So I think about Lamar with what on paper could be a Patrick offensive line. Man, you better get back in that cafeteria.
Yeah. Maybe he has more faith than we do, but yeah, they got like Ben Cleveland starting now. They got basically a rookie starting at left guard too, and a real rookie starting at right tackle. Yeah, it could be rough early on. I do think it will help them later on, because one thing that was kind of undercovered about this team was how weak the offensive line really was at the end of the year. When they played the Chiefs, I think we were both at that game. I asked Drew Tranquil in the locker room, like, because a big talking point was how they didn't run the ball more, the Ravens, and he was like, well, they didn't have anything at the point of attack. Like, they tried to like knock us back, and we were knocking them back, and that's why they couldn't run the football. So I think getting a good offensive line will allow them to like call a more diverse game, and maybe they won't just fall on Lamar like they did last year in the playoffs.
Yep. So we'll see how the 205 goes. Honestly, man, these guys can change their bodies so fast. I wouldn't be surprised if Lamar is like, once August rolls around, if he's like 220. Yeah. I don't know. Because I remember last year when I went to Ravens camp, did a story in their offense, and like Odell had it was one of the first days Odell was talking to the media as a Raven, and he was like, you know, it's kind of a slow ramp up in terms of sometimes like how you peak out. So Odell, he was like, I want to be at my peak in week 10, not in week 2. So maybe this is like a ramp up period for Lamar, but you know, some of these guys, like they really do just exist on a different plane physically. So like Lamar is one of those guys who could probably get up to 220 by August and be totally fine and not having issues with it. But you know, and late May 205, I do think that's a newsworthy point to talk about for a second.